crypto just experienced its second worst day ever with a $350 billion loss in one day for the total crypto market cap. And so that's what's been going on in crypto today. We'll go ahead and take a look at the charts and get into news and what's really going on overall with the price. I did make a video yesterday about, is this a fake pump? Talking about Bitcoin and getting into the crypto reserve that was actually promised. And so with that said, nothing is financial advice. I am Rager. This is Rager Crypto. And as far as the channel, if you are looking for information about the crypto market, updates and news from somebody who's been in this market for close to a decade, I have, go ahead and subscribe below. Click the like button if you like the content. If you don't, but I'd love it because it shows it to more people. But let's go ahead and take a look at the market, and I'll talk to you about where I would like for Bitcoin to bounce at. A lot of people are talking about, is this a bear market? And so I think it's a little too early to get in that conversation right now as far as the bear market, just because, well, we'll take a look at it and we can look at past historically on the charts. But overall right now, Bitcoin over the last 24 hours, as you see, nice bright red here, down 7%. ETH is down 9%. Even XRP, BNB, Solana is down 13%. Cardano, ADA is down 10%. And so a lot of those coins that actually had a big pump because they were mentioned in the crypto reserve for the United States have now retraced their gains. And you can even see that information on different posts. But as I said earlier, looking into this, the total crypto market cap has experienced its second worst decrease ever, just one day after its best increase ever, plummeting $350 billion in 24 hours. So that's super remarkable for price to reverse like that. It just truly shows weakness in the market. And so the buys quickly were sold as the stock market plummeted yesterday to its worst day in 2025. And we'll look at the stock market, and I'll talk to you a little bit about this. And most of you aren't here to talk about the stock market, but what you need to know is that it's directly correlated with Bitcoin now. That's what happens after funds and banks, ETFs, you're going to have that correlation with the stock market. And it is not quite yet that flight to safety against the economy that we hope for, like digital gold. We want it to be like that one day, but it's not quite there yet. It is highly correlated with the stock market. But after having its worst day in 2025, the stock market, that's when crypto pulled back as well. We know that the correlation has caused that. So as far as the price right now, a lot of people are freaking out quite a bit. And I want to go ahead and look historically at the Bitcoin chart and really just to show you that it's not really a time to panic because this is nothing new under the sun. We've seen this so many times when it comes to the Bitcoin price in a quote bull market, whatever type of market this is right now. People will speculate and argue. Currently, we're down around our max that we've hit as far as the local high is around 27, 28%. And so that is actually, I think I'm wrong here, 27%. That is actually quite normal. And so I would not be shocked if price dipped down into this green box, and I marked that earlier because what that would be a little over 30%. And so where that would also put price of Bitcoin is that it would actually dip back into the prior range, hopefully bounce from there, and then we'll see what happens. But I do have this box here, and currently over the past 2 weeks, we hit as low as 19% in 2 weeks. Now, again, why am I showing you this is because if you look back over on the left-hand side of this chart during the bull market of 2021, just in a 2-week period, Bitcoin dropped 50% in 2 weeks, okay? We have hit 19% drop in the past 2 weeks. Now, it's bounced from there because currently over the past 2 weeks, we're sitting at around 15%. But it's not that bad is what I'm trying to tell you. We've seen a lot worse in the past 3 to 4 years. And so if this were to pull back down to this 70K range, that would be from the top, that would be around 35%. Back in 2021, we actually dipped around 50%, and we stayed that way for around 6 weeks before pushing back up to new highs. And so I would love for that to happen as well here. I would love to see maybe a mimic to where we have similar to a double top, to where we do pull back, reaccumulation, and then grind back up to new highs, hopefully to 120, 130 or higher. But the market's changed. And I think eventually in a video, I want to talk about that, because now with the ETFs, now with more adoption, I don't really foresee Bitcoin dumping 80%, 90% like it used to in past cycles. Maybe perhaps now we might see a 50% drop at max for a cycle, maybe 30 to 40%. And so if you look at the past history of Bitcoin, this is 2016, 2017. What I'm showing you is that people are currently freaking out around a 27% pullback, potentially up to that 30% pullback if we go lower. But back in 2016, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at least 6 times, maybe even 7 right here. Let's go ahead and check it out down to here. Yeah, 7 times at least, Bitcoin pulled back at least 30%, going from 2016 to its high in 2017. And so a 30% pullback is just part of the game, right? It's a part of the market back at that time. Now, after the lows in 2019, we also had a 50% pullback before we ran up to the new all-time high. On its way up after the COVID crash. Of course, with COVID, you can't really count that because that was a market contagion. But we did pull back around 20%, 30%, going up to the new highs in 2021. And then let's go ahead and fast forward to this cycle. As far as 2023, we had 20%, 23%, 20%, and a 30% pullback last year, 33%, to where we grinded down for a long time. And finally, price worked its way back up back in October and November, after all the shenanigans that went on then at the end of the year. But with that said, we've had 20 to 30% pullbacks, not as steep as the prior cycles, 30 to 40% in 2017. But maybe that's just the new norm, is what I'm trying to get to, is that we're not going to have as steep as pullbacks as we did back in the prior cycles. And so I just want to say, you don't need to really worry about this. If we do pull back even down to this in the lower 70Ks, that's going to probably decimate a lot of altcoins. So if you are in altcoins, just be prepared. Never invest more than you can afford to lose. I think that's just bottom line. But for assets like Bitcoin, which is legitimized, which we know that potential for a reserve asset for the United States of America, it's a big deal. And I think that it's here to stay, and it's got the longevity more than any other asset in cryptocurrencies. Ethereum, Solana, XRP, some of those other big ones, again, not as big as Bitcoin, not as legitimized. And of course, I would argue all day long that Bitcoin is a nice store of value, hard money asset compared to a lot of these other things. All right, just be prepared if in the next 2 weeks prior to FOMC, that's when the Fed meets again and talks about rate cuts. So we'll see what they have to say. Now, I did talk about that on Twitter, on X earlier. I said really it's about holding for the next couple of weeks until FOMC, taking it one day, week at a time to see if the Fed can react in a positive way for a potential bottom or reversal in the market. And this may not happen, but it's something that could perhaps slow down the bleeding. And so you're going to notice that on March 18th and 19th is the next Federal Reserve meeting. The next one after that doesn't happen until May. And so we really want to see if they can step in and say something that would be dovish, that would perhaps talk about rate cuts. It's actually, I do believe that what's talked about right now is 3 rate cuts. I was trying to remember how many rate cuts that people think are going to happen this year. And I think it's currently at potentially having 3 rate cuts. But we'll see what they say, because if they step in, even with all these tariffs and everything right now with the news, if they step in, talk about rate cuts, not so hawkish this time around, we can maybe perhaps see Bitcoin and stocks in general have a bounce. And so as far as the stock market goes, it's right at the 200 SMA, EMA on the daily. Now, price is not broken below that, since I think October of 2023. So it's been a while since the price of the stock index has actually been this low, and it's dipped quite a bit since February. So let's see how much it's down. Overall price, stock market's down. Oh my goodness. Down 7%. Oh, lose my mind. And the funny thing is, though, with the stock market and traditional finance, that is actually quite a bit because it's so much bigger than Bitcoin and crypto. When you think of certain altcoins that have a few million market cap that can go down 80% in a day or two, again, there's not 1,000 people holding that. When you're talking about hundreds of millions of people who are involved with the stock market and trillions of dollars. So the volatility should be less for the stock market, but overall we've had around 6 to 7% decrease. Price has not been below, and it last time it was below these daily moving averages, it was only for a few days. It was only for a week. And again, will it bounce here? Will it bounce, dip slowly below a little bit for a few days, just in time around the FOMC meeting? And then hopefully FOMC, the Fed, give us something dovish that would then help us bounce and break back up. That's what I'm looking at as far as the stock market goes. Let's see what will happen. Of course, with the tariffs, it's been down, but eventually there has to be a bottom. And can there be any more bad news that could potentially drive prices down? I know for crypto in general, there's a lot of good news. And speaking of that, one last thing I want to touch on is it talks about the White House Crypto Summit of 2025 and will there be an elimination of crypto taxes or really capital gains overall. Now, I don't think that this is going to be enough to push the price of Bitcoin and crypto up because we're just talking about the United States here. Crypto is a global asset which impacts millions and millions of people across the world. Now, there are people who could step in from the United States to buy that to push the price up. But I don't think that this really impacts as much as the market as people may think that it will. And when we're talking about crypto capital gains, I do believe what we're talking about is long-term capital gains. We're not talking about the short-term trading. We're talking about holding Bitcoin as a store of value, holding it for multiple years as a hard asset. And if you do decide to sell that, to be rewarded for that, to not be punished by selling that over a long period of time. And so I do believe that is what we're talking about. And I think that even in here, they're talking about how the administration is considering eliminating capital gains taxes on crypto transactions, a move that can encourage more trading and long-term investment. I'm not for sure if they're going to actually cut from short-term capital gains. Other people have said that it's only going to be for U.S. crypto assets only, which is really confusing, right? Because even with Bitcoin, you don't even know where that started at. It started online. It started, what actual country did it come from? And along with many other assets as well, too. There's speculation on where it came from and where Satoshi's from. But I'm just saying in general, as far as crypto taxes goes, I don't think it's going to focus on specifically United States-based assets. It could, but in my mind, I think the easiest thing, that would be very confusing as you're doing hundreds of transactions, thousands of transactions for trades, what's United States-based and what's not. But I do believe that long-term capital gains from crypto could be looked at as far as eliminating those long-term capital gains. And it would be good, I know, good for me, because I know a lot of you like to hold as well long-term and have been successful holding long-term. And typically we've seen in the past that people who hold long-term, their crypto, are more successful. The majority, though, are more successful than people who constantly trade and buy these altcoins that can quickly diminish in value rapidly, 50, 60, 70% down in a matter of days, weeks, or months. But that's really the big news for today. We're going to go ahead and take a look at that on Friday. We'll review that maybe over the weekend as far as I say we, as in my multiple personalities, but I will look at that and get back and have some thoughts on what is said with the crypto summit for 2025 and really look forward to seeing what they have to say as far as the capital gains tax. Is it going to be US based investments? Is it going to be only long-term capital gains, or will it be short-term capital gains? Which honestly, I don't think that'll be the case, because you're looking at a ton of income that gets wiped out from short-term trading as far as capital gains, because they don't even do that with the stock market, right? I don't necessarily think that they're going to eliminate that for crypto. With that said, right now we're currently down to $83,000. Bitcoin's down around 8% over the past day. Still only around 20 to 25% down in total from the overall local top, back over $100,000. And I foresee, if things do continue to get rocky here in the next couple of weeks before the FOMC meeting, I can foresee that price can still dip back down, fill in this wick, maybe go down to the 50 moving average here on the weekly chart. Again, we did hit below there once or twice back last year, below this orange line, which is around $76,000. And so in the year prior to that too, in the cycle prior to that too, in 2021, we also hit below that for around 6 weeks, as I talked about earlier, but we never did go below the 100 weekly moving average there, which would be around $62,000, which would be really low. I don't want to see that. I would like to see a bounce around this level. And that really, I think, as far as that, really matches up with what we've seen before with Bitcoin during these times of volatility and pullbacks, which would be around 30 to 35%, which in hindsight, we'll look back at that and say that really was not that big of a deal, because we have seen that so many times in the market. Okay, so with that said, it's just your weekly update from me. Make sure to subscribe below for more updates, and we'll talk about what Bitcoin and crypto is doing. So with that, you guys trade safe. I'll see you on the channel, and see you soon. Thanks.